need to know our.
I'd like to call our meeting to order. Roll call. Would you like to start, Tom?
Oh, Mark Anthony Williams.
Margot Rain?
Stephen Franklin.
David Majewski.
Cynthia Batty.
Okay. And
You announce who else is for the record.
oh, sure. We also have, well, you might as well just introduce.
Antonina Candelope, city administrator.
Lisa Hatfield, city solicitor.
Chris Rogers, city planner.
Okay. And we are expecting Tamara Stoner, who should be with us shortly. Okay.
And so that means Green and
Kristen, are not here. Oh, there she
Yes, it
is.
is.
Perfect timing. Okay. Do we have a quorum? Our next order of business is the approval of the minutes from our March 9th meeting. Do I have any comments or corrections on those minutes? Hearing none. Do I have a motion to approve?
I motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstaining? The minutes are approved. Okay. And we have actually any minutes to approve?
Should have a public hearing. And
Yeah, the public hearing minutes. It doesn't say it. It's, yeah, they're in there.
They're on the back.
Oh, right here.
But it doesn't say at the top that they're,
It doesn't, but it does say you called the meeting to order, the public hearing.
oh, okay, okay. So if that's is there any other comments on those meetings or corrections?
We can clearly change it at the top to say public hearing.
Okay, that would be good. Thank you.
I can make a motion for you.
That would be awesome. Thank you.
Okay, I move that, with the change to the title of the document to, include that it's a public hearing, that we, approve the, minutes as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Okay, second set of minutes are approved. All right, public comments. Anybody want to make any public comments? Seeing how the room is empty, I think we will, assume that that portion of the meeting has been completed. Okay, our next order of business has to do with accessory dwelling units. Actually, I didn't realize that it had been November of 2024 when we had the folks from the city or the Delaware State Housing Commission come and talk to us. It seems more recent than that.
The date from yours is May 20th, 2024, and then the, Chris's document, which is excellent, by the way, thank you. It's November 24th.
Yeah, I think they gave them both to us.
Yeah.
So I think they came to us in November of 2024.
I recall them being here the 21st of November, yes.
So,
Why were we revisiting this?
and I will explain that in just
Okay.
a minute. So, because we had agreed that this was a topic we wanted to pursue as the planning commission. I sat down and talked with city council to make sure that they were going to be receptive to whatever we said, and B, to get a good sense of what they would want with what we were doing. And what we were requested to do was to provide a thorough document to them with our recommendations as to what should be considered. And I will then send that to Suzanne, who will then probably give it to Mike to begin drafting an ordinance and to have hearings there. So in light of that, I went back and pulled this report to begin to get a sense of what kinds of things do we need to put in a document to recommend. So if you have this document, and since the pages aren't numbered, starting with the sheet that says lot size, you'll notice the next several sheets are all things that should be considered if a city was to, if an ordinance regarding accessory dwelling units was to be considered. So things like lot size, how big the ADU can be, and within each of those, you know, given the size, does it have to be attached? Can it be separate? If it is separate, how big can it be or not be? Is there a maximum and minimum? Should it be 1 stories or 2 stories? The next page talks about parking and utility connections. Because clearly, if we have somebody living in a separate structure, they have to have electric, sewer, and water. Otherwise, it's not going to get a certificate of occupancy. And then regarding ownership, should the homeowner be on the property? Should it be for only immediate family use? Could it be rented to a third party? And then our next set of questions are, does it have to be a long-term rental, a short-term rental? I guess you could add to that, should there even be a lease between the parties? I mean, if it's your in-laws living in there, that might be hard to negotiate. So, and then there's the permitting process. There needs to be some kind of established permitting process, and then who's going to handle that? So I think what we want to start to develop, and I don't think we can accomplish this all today, is what do we think the answers to those various questions would be so that we can begin to develop something to recommend to City Council?
I have a question.
Please.
Am I the only one who thinks that this seems oddly familiar to a very recent hot topic?
No, you are not, actually, and I was thinking similar thing. I mean, I know we went through this back in November, and it kind of got sidetracked, and we got the rails spiraled off to the short-term rental, which is like 7 months of my life that I will never get back. And I mean, I understand that the question about having ADUs, but then it raises the question once again, and here we go again, back into it can be short-term rentals, can be long-term rentals, and here we go again. And outside of an R1, R2, R3 use, maybe it's feasible, but within the historic district, the lots are too small. So it's like, you know, I'm just at a loss as to why are we going back over this again, that's all.
So I have one more question. I get it. I think I understand why this can be important to people.
Mhm.
What bothers me is that we're going to end up over at the senior center if we don't think through all the challenges of the last one with a angry group of people thinking that we're trying to change their town. I mean, I remember most of the arguments and they were very, very passionate about it. And I am not in any way saying this is a bad idea. It just kind of reminds me of some of the things that we had to talk about with short-term rentals. I think Cynthia.
So, as you all know, I've given this great deal of thought, and I had a conversation with Antonina about it last Friday as well. If you look at and I'm a proponent, I'll say that straight up front. I think we need to give people these alternatives because it allows people to increase the value of their property, increase their family wealth, you know, and those are all good things, which are good for the entire city. I think we'll leave the discussion of the historic district to the side as to whether it's included or not for the time being. But for those of you who read the weekly, and you should, because I write in it very frequently, one of the editors did an analysis of the census that was recently done in Newcastle, and surprise, surprise, it's almost 20 years that we've had 5,500 people living here. And during that time, we've added hundreds of units for people to live in. And so what that seems to imply is that dwelling units here, whether it's a house, apartment, whatever you want to call it, are becoming, and Antonina, I think, has some data on this, it's becoming an older group of people. We're not retaining younger people here. And maybe that's because there's not enough places for them to live, but that's also maybe because we don't have a district here that's gives them a reason to be here. I sort of don't think that's true, but at the same time, anybody who's following what's going on with the school districts here knows that we don't have enough kids to go to school here, and they're looking at consolidating. A lot of the local parochial schools are closing. They just don't have enough people. So a concern that I had, and it's very similar to what you're saying, Tony, is why don't we ask the people who would be most affected through a survey of what they think would be good for them? So instead of, having a hearing and getting the screamers who come to that, there will be some I know, but try to get to the everyman in the whole rest of the city and have them fill out a brief survey that says, do you want to be able to do this? Would you like to have a separate property on your property? How do you feel about that? Do you feel that it would be good for your family? Would it make it easier for you to take care of your elderly relatives, which is one of the big arguments for ADUs? Or would it keep your kids around longer? And kind of take it from that perspective. And then also we could ask questions like, would you like to be able to rent it to a non-family member? Let's ask them. We don't do a lot of outreach and communication to the rest of the city. A lot of city functions here are focused on the historic district for good reasons, usually. But this is one that affect everybody. Why don't we go ask them before we put together our wish list? Because we don't know.
What would be the best way to?
Cynthia mentioned to me a survey. I think that would be a great idea. How we go about that is up to you. We can start drafting some questions. I can put it together and then show you the draft at the next meeting and then finalize it. Then put it out on like social media, our website, send it out in the crier. There are things that we are already doing.
I think that's a great idea.
I think the idea of the survey is a good idea. I like that, yeah.
I think we have to. So my experience with surveys is they can't be very long
Right.
We know
Right.
that.
because then nobody's going to answer them.
Yeah, we know. Less than 30 questions is what.
Oh, I would say 10.
Even if you were that, maybe.
Depends on what it is, but
I think the more concise it is, the
Yeah,
better.
maybe like 5 or 7
Then they'll have-
questions, yeah.
Yeah, more engagement.
And I know you talked about increasing the value of the property. I think what DSH was saying is it is one of many possible answers regarding affordable housing. That, the adult kids might be able to stay longer because the price of housing, and I just heard on the news, the mortgage interest rates went up again. People are having a hard time buying a house. So, you can sort of stay at mom and dad's, but you're not completely under their thumb while your income increases and you can have some savings to buy a house. So I think there's many reasons why somebody might want to do this.
So I could see where it could benefit in terms of being allowed for the multi-generational families, having grandma, aunt, uncle, whatever, and ultimately they have a place to stay, have some kind of privacy, freedom, while still being close, so.
No,
But
I see
The
that.
survey, I think, is a good way of getting started, because at least then you know, first of all, whether it's even worth taking up.
Okay.
There's even demand for it. It may
Yeah.
not be a demand, it may, in our minds, be this big when it's probably.
Right.
Yes.
So.
So- And Cynthia may have a good answer for this, because I know she's got a lot of research in it. But maybe I'm confused, or not confused, but just not informed. So I obviously understand like detached ADUs and the relevance there, but what, so my parents live downtown. If my dad went out and had an architect put together some specs and, go through the process to put an addition on, without knowing, like if the only connection to the house was maybe through a hallway that came into the kitchen in the back, and then there was a bathroom and a bedroom and a sitting room or whatever. I guess, how do we separate that? Like, what people have already done? Like, are you just building an addition, or like I guess what defines the ADU versus just adding on to your home? And I don't know.
I think that's a question for you.
Yeah, a typical definition of an ADU would include an attached dwelling unit to the primary dwelling.
Maybe like a wall attached by a wall or?
By a breezeway, by a
Okay.
doorway to the
Alright.
kitchen. So if it's a separate dwelling unit, or if it's a separate dwelling unit, it's its own self-sustaining dwelling unit, but it happens to be attached to the primary dwelling unit, it's still accessory.
So I'm assuming that would start checking boxes of like a kitchenette or a kitchen or something like that.
Yeah, separate living quarters.
Okay.
But if it's a standalone, because some could be standalone, so then how does that fall into?
That would also be an accessory
Okay.
dwelling unit,
Yeah.
and typically,
It's on the.
like we
Yeah.
went through.
Yeah, that's
there-
actually the best graphic I've seen.
There are typically maximum square foot, footprint sizes of ADUs, either maybe as a percentage of the primary structure with a not to exceed square footage. So it kind of keeps in character and it's clearly incidental and subordinate to the primary dwelling.
I mean, I know this is, not relevant to Newcastle, but I know in the Southwest, Arizona, California, Nevada, they have, they call casitas, which is basically the standalone ADU, and it's like, a little granny flat or whatever. And, so those are almost all the standalone.
So Lewis has a good definition, just as an example. I don't know if we had definitions in these handouts, but ADU is a dwelling unit customarily incidental and subordinate to the principal residential use of the land or residential building and located on the same lot with the principal use. An ADU provides complete independent living facilities, including its own cooking, sleeping, and sanitation facilities, and may take forms including conversion of an existing dwelling into 2 living spaces or units, a detached dwelling unit, a dwelling unit attached to the primary dwelling, a dwelling unit that is part of an accessory structure, such as a detached garage or converted portion of a garage.
Yeah.
So it's,
Awful.
yeah, it's separate, living facilities, either attached or not.
Antonina, do we need to get permission from city council to do a survey? Cause I'm kind of, it just occurred to me, I don't want them to find out about it by opening their,
No, I think we should certainly inform them that this is what you would like to do,
okay,
and get their support.
Okay.
If we want to, have a lot more research done by Chris and engage his firm, then that's, something that we're gonna need to get permission on.
okay,
There may be some bits of expense around doing this. For example, one of the things we talked about was sending a postcard to everybody in the city or everyone in affected areas to
Yeah.
urge them.
That's why I suggested the
the
things
utility
we're
bills,
already doing,
yeah,
because that's a little bit of cost savings and it's something we do on the regular. If you wanted to do a mailer or something like that, then that would have to be with the next budget recommendation. We'd have to wait a few months.
The other possibility is we do have good connections to a variety of churches in the area, and we could communicate with them and ask them to explain this to their parishioners and have them give an opinion as well. So there's a lot of free ways we can communicate with people. So we just had, a leader of one of them here in our, amongst us who understands our problems. So, you know, I'm sure we could go around and get some support, that way too. I just got concerned when I saw that city isn't growing, it's actually declining, you know, so do we try to solve a problem that doesn't exist? I know the state identified that a problem existed here, except we've added hundreds of units and it hasn't changed our population.
And that's an interesting thought. I mean, how do you add units, but the population
You
stays?
got fewer people living in each house.
I guess, yeah,
Yeah.
it's true.
That's,
And I don't think that sure, the total population may not have changed so much, but the spread has changed a little bit and it's gotten older.
yeah, the
You know, and
age.
that's another reason to consider something like an ADU.
But that's also part of standard demographics. You talked about the schools.
Mhm.
One of I had done some research a couple years ago because there's not enough, all the small businesses I work with can't find employees. And there's myriad of reasons, but one of which is the birth rate is so low in this country that there just aren't enough young people coming along. And so you're really starting to see it in, you know, the elementary, the secondary, high schools. It's gonna start showing up in colleges, it's showing up in the workforce. So the aging population isn't gonna change.
Yeah.
And so things like ADUs are gonna be more important because you're gonna have all these elderly people that, what are you gonna do with them?
I've already picked up my dad's nursing home, we're good.
Is he
Not on the record.
You might be watching this show. Well, as I said to Antonina, I was a little even more blunt about it. In 10 years, this won't be a problem. So, so we're
Meaning
looking,
we'll all be dead?
not necessarily everybody here in this room, but with the declining population and and people aging out and dying, which does happen.
Yes, yes.
The crush of need for more housing will decline. When you just look at the numbers, that's what's gonna happen. But that doesn't mean that offering people the opportunity is a bad idea. And while, you know, to Tony's point, while you could make an argument, this is not disruptive to neighborhoods, it actually is. And they're not free. We just built on a little elevator shaft on the back of our house and it was $150,000. That was for like, you know, 12 by 6 feet. So it's not free to do these things. So there's got to be a return on investment for families who are considering it. All of those are things I think we need to get more input from the affected population. And I think if we did it that way, we would find fewer screamers and unhappy people and more ways to create a conciliatory environment. Around it.
I was thinking the same thing, like there's a price attached to this and with the older population, like, are they gonna run out to have their houses renovated and do all these add-ons and things like that? Is that what is front of mind for them?
Well, it could
So we don't know.
present ideas to them too.
It could,
You know, it could
but we
say,
don't know.
we don't know. It could say to people, wow, we could do this. And then our children could live in here, or our caregiver could live here. Or, you know, I mean, I've got a caregiver living with my stepfather in California. Fortunately, there's a bedroom. He doesn't want a separate place, but he's there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And if you don't have a place to
It's a
put
problem.
people,
Yeah.
then you have a hard time staying at home. And who doesn't want to stay at home? Go out feet first. We all do. So, yeah, so that's why I think a little study that we do quick. This is not, you know, to do it for 6 months. This is get it done and out of here and find out.
So that's something we can add into like the crier and all that as well, so
Yeah.
try to pursue all those avenues that are already going out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
The other
That's
thing-
right, unless he does have them.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody gets the
QR code
utility.
on that.
The other thing to note is that We talk a lot about the historic district. Yeah. The
There's
importance of
more
the
than-
survey,
yeah.
it's the broadness of it,
Yeah.
that it will reach the entire city and we can get input from everyone.
Okay.
So,
So how do we do this? I guess I should show up at city council with a request to explain what we're trying to do?
you can also, I think you should write a brief letter,
Okay,
explaining it as well.
okay. Suzanne?
To council. Mhm.
I volunteered to help if y'all accept me, if that survey is for 25 years, so. Have a point of view.
It would be great if we worked together as.
I have no problem with it. I think just keep the survey
Very
brief, maybe
short.
like less than 10 questions, 5 or 7, anything more than people aren't gonna, I know when I get surveys, more than a few, I just like.
Yeah, I'm like.
I just not even bother with it because I'm like, sitting down, taking the time to actually read it. If it's a few questions, fine. I'm just being truthful.
No, I'm the same way. I've actually started on them and went, nah, and we need them to complete them.
Yes.
Can you work with Chris? Cause I wanna make sure that we're using the right wordage and those kinds of things.
So how about this? How about you, why don't you, I'm sure you have questions in mind already, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so why don't you send that over to me? I'll work with Chris to get this started. I think that the top of the survey should really explain what an ADU is.
Exactly.
And then we go from there. And then we can,
Like the Lewis definition,
Right.
written in a little bit more human language would be a good place to start.
exactly. So we can get that going. You and I
That's
can.
the next
meet in
council.
Cynthia, and then we can bring it back to.
Second Tuesday.
So while she's looking at the next council meeting, I have a question. So population decline in the
That'll be
states
the
like
seventh.
Delaware. Is this a phenomenon in small towns or? I mean, I'm sure we're not just isolated.
I
So
have an article
we know that
report-
No,
Middletown
it's not till the 14th.
has exploded.
Right.
Right, so they're experiencing population growth. And I think they're experiencing population growth because younger families, they see the schools, they see, okay, this is a great place to live, it's a great school district. Affordability, we can commute to New York, come back home or whatever with that. So, and part of this package, are we saying Newcastle is a great place to live? You should come here. Which is a whole nother story.
Yeah.
As opposed to, not opposed to, in addition to saying, oh, by the way, if you want to do this, you can do this ACU. So it seems like a two-pronged thing there.
Absolutely. I agree.
Well, to that point, Tony, we have an industrial zone, which is only about 50% populated with businesses. You know, if the business, I don't think, help me out, lawyers and planning people, I don't think attracting businesses to the city is the job of the planning commission, is it, or is it?
Well, I mean, you guys work on the comp plan,
Yeah.
right? So.
I was gonna say
your
that the
comprehensive
comp plan is
plan.
could do that.
Mhm, and zoning code, I mean, that's part of, especially when you're doing your 5-year update or your 10-year redo. I mean, that's part of what you're looking at is what does the town need to grow? What does the city need to grow? I apologize. And so those are some of the things you could look at. If you want to bring industry in, that's something you can address on your comp plan. So yes, that is within the purview of the planning commission to look at how you want the city to grow. And you can, look at things like, do we want, BJ's distribution center, or do we want, mom and pop high back service, right? Like those are all kinds of things that can be in your comprehensive plan, and then you can work towards sort of getting those people. I mean, it doesn't even have to be in your plan for you to discuss ways to get those people here. But yeah, that's certainly in your purview, because what you're looking at is zoning and what's going to attract people
Or businesses.
or businesses, correct?
Doing that is one thing, but I think Tony was talking about how do we go tell them, is that our job?
Public meetings really is how you do that. It's not like you're gonna be out knocking on doors,
Yeah.
but having public hearings and getting input, like if you do decide to go forward with the ADU, get the public's input besides just a survey, but have a forum for them to come in a bigger spot than this, so they actually fit, assuming anybody comes. No, but you know what I mean, and, you know, get their input on those kinds of things. But I mean, certainly as a planning commission too, I mean, you can, I mean, you're not really going out and beating on doors, but you can sort of make it known to the public that you're trying to get people in here, if that makes sense.
You have a friendly,
Well,
business friendly.
Business
plan,
development
zoning
like
code.
that, business development is a different thing from that though, and I think you know what I'm talking
It
about.
is.
I always like to think I always like to think of it as the comp plan and the zoning provides the opportunities for a variety of land uses. When you get into the weeds, like the economic development incentives, that's,
Right.
you can make recommendations, but that really doesn't sit with you. That's a legislative function or another board. But we certainly provide the opportunities for population growth and a mix of a variety of uses, businesses, industry, what types of industry. But to actually get the people to come here to start a business, you know, the tax rate has to be right.
Oh,
You have the employment pool has to be right, you know, in the region. So there are a lot of things that are out of our control.
Yeah.
Beyond zoning and,
For example, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. For example, in the ADU spectrum, right? There is, City of New York doesn't allow independent cooking facilities in theirs. And that, I'm sure, is designed to keep from having all these ADUs that students are living in. So that's an example of a zoning law that City of New York put in place so that they specifically didn't attract certain people. And you could do the opposite, have certain zoning laws that attract people, certain zoning laws that don't attract people. But you know, those are the things you have to consider.
So, but I'm much more thinking on a much more practical level. If we wanted businesses to come and set up meaningful quantities of employment here per business, that's something where we would work with the Delaware Chamber of Commerce, I would think, and, you know, go to their events and present materials or have a table at their shows or, you know, stuff like that. And is that within our purview?
That's not really planning commission.
Right, that's what I was trying to
That's more
get
your
at.
city manager.
I think
That's more your city manager.
this is my thought, that in 5 years, we need to redo the comp plan. I've said, I think 2 to 3 years out, we need to start doing things to get us to that part. Clearly saying in that planning phase of working on that, one of the questions we would be wanting to address is how do we want our city to grow? What kinds of things are needed? I would think we could then, somebody could then, not us, then take that document as a way to encourage other businesses to come so that, and just a little bit of talk with Chris, it would seem that the trend in terms of comp plans is to make them much thinner and smaller and more readable, because you're like, how many people are gonna sit down and read through that thing?
Nobody but us. And we'll cry when we do it.
And we did. So to have something, to have a comp plan that's more usable, and then to be able to take from that something that's, you can drill down to like a 2-page brochure that would give Antonina some tools to market the city, I think might be a really good thing to do.
As part of that, it would help to have the statuses on the unbuilt projects that we've approved, which we've talked about in other meetings. So from a data perspective, we approved, how many units is it down on Lucan's Drive? Like 1,500 units.
no.
800,
800, all right.
400, 400.
400.
Still a lot. Not a spade in the
I
ground yet.
have not heard a thing. There's nothing to report. The comp plan and rezoning ordinance had a time period that has lapsed within which they had to submit a site plan. So we have
That's
not, I have
kind of
not,
dead.
After ground
I
zero.
have, as city planner, Antonina, I don't think you've heard anything. Have not heard a thing. I would have told you, I haven't heard anything. And I would defer to council on what would happen if they do pop up and say, we want to move forward, because
Expire, they're gonna have to resubmit.
it's the whole thing,
Yeah,
the whole comp plan amendment, rezoning. So, the battery,
Mhm.
so I don't mean,
No, I wanna hear.
No,
about
but
it.
the battery just got approved, by city council in their, ministerial function, both the site plan and the subdivision. 610 West Seventh Street has special exception approval, and haven't seen anything.
Which one is that? Is that the
That's
other?
the 397 units on the,
800. Moving to 500.
on the other, yes, on the
The other
north
side of
side.
Larkin Street.
Yeah, on the north side of, West Seventh. Just,
So they could be what, experiencing financing, it could be a plethora of things in a motor,
yeah,
right?
brownfield, I think it was the brownfields. if you-
Right, like the parents issue, like there's so many different things.
So now that Lucan Drive project has to come back, that makes them applicable to the sprinkler legislation, correct?
Probably.
They always were though, right? Because the building permits weren't yet issued.
I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I believe so.
That
You know,
makes you happy.
All right, so what do we decide?
And those were going to be apartments, is that correct?
Apartments and townhomes.
Yeah.
Because
There was some one family detached.
And it
Calls.
sounded like they were thinking they'd all be rentals, it sounded like, but and there was gonna be some commercial in there as well.
I just bring that up to say, and again, there's gonna be a survey done, not just off the cuff, like if for some reason the developer canned that project because market studies showed, the economy, they were gonna sit empty, I mean, that's a real consideration with ADUs. Because they're gonna be that smaller size too, if there's not a market for that. And that's part of what the survey is gonna be about, just something to.
Well, I mean, it very
I'm
well could
curious
come back
to
that
know.
nobody wants them. so-
Right.
But I'm gonna throw some shade on this, that, I would be, because I'm kind of an old school planner, you usually do surveys at the comp plan level. And a breadth of surveys, and you're getting this great information about the direction that you want your jurisdiction to go in, and you get these broad strategies, you get these broad goals and objectives out of these surveys. Like zoning amendments are so specific, and we're talking about, you may get a survey respondent like, well, I didn't know I was gonna be limited in my square footage. I didn't know that you were gonna let them to be that big. And I think we're just as likely to start a storm before by doing this than we are by just digging our heels in and doing an outline of an ADU. And this came up because,
Kristen?
no, you just said maybe it's because it's saturated. ADUs are obviously voluntary. And the
Right.
property owner is only gonna do it if they think they have a need.
Right.
And if there is, God forbid, that there is a bunch of vacant ADUs in people's backyards.
Yeah, that's not a good thing.
Yeah, but the
It's a
person that
bad
would have made that decision would have had a reason to have an ADU there. And then that property would be, a little bit more valuable
Right.
and marketable to me than another property. My point is that zoning is so granular. I'm, certainly gonna help with the survey, but I'm a little skeptical about if a lot of people don't respond, does that mean there's not a demand? If a lot of people say, we hate this idea, is that just same old people saying it and they really don't understand the benefits of an ADU until we implement it and see it? Because we're not thrusting something onto people. We're just giving another tool in the toolbox.
I couldn't disagree more.
I know, you're, and I'm saying, and is that gonna raise the expectations of every time we do a zoning amendment that we should have done a survey?
No, let's not go down that path.
I'm telling you, I've done this a long time, and the zoning is in the trenches.
Yeah.
Figuring out the ands and the ors and the commas and why versus. And I like the attitude and the fact that you want to reach out ahead of time, but we just have to be careful with the information that we get back. We're still gonna have to roll over. The room's still gonna be full, maybe. The room's still gonna be empty, maybe. You never know with zoning. You just never know. And I've never been involved where there's been a survey in advance of a zoning amendment.
Here's the other thing I will say,
That's all.
that we hadn't talked about yet, and I just didn't really think about it till you said that, Chris, is that when those surveys come back, you've got to discuss those here.
Yeah.
I mean, I just wanna make sure you understand that. If you get 95 surveys, you're opening 95 surveys here, and that's okay.
Oh.
I'm just reminding
Okay.
you of that. You're not,
Right, they can't be compiled.
they can't be discussed. You can disseminate
Yeah.
information in its,
Yeah.
native form. But it can't be discussed. So
Okay.
don't summarize it and send it. Don't have emails discussing one another.
Oh.
Out it goes.
No, but it would be done at SurveyMonkey, which automatically.
That's fine,
summaries.
that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's got
It's
to
not
be just
open
the
a
information
paper
disseminated,
here,
not
that's not
discussion.
gonna happen.
Yeah, no, right, yeah.
Nobody does that.
All right, I have a question.
Mhm.
Is there another way to announce that something that's being considered to see, let's say city council throws this out there that this is something that's being considered ADUs. People pay attention to the city council meetings. It's either gonna set people's hair on fire, just thought of it, or it's not. But there are people out there who are gonna respond to the thought of it. I think that it's an army term of free chicken. It's where you put out an idea to get what you want without saying very much of anything. It's that's a rudimentary explanation of that. It's almost a psychological way of ascertaining what the public might think. They may have an opinion before any survey goes out. That's my question to you, Chris.
Yeah, and again, obviously the decision on the survey is not mine, but the direction that we were headed was the way Margo originally presented it, as I thought that we were going to present to city council the type of considerations that one would consider in drafting an ordinance that would allow an ADU. And then the city council would have an item on their agenda in whatever, May, June, that says, the city council is considering ADUs, and here's the type of things that this is like a general outline of the zoning amendment. Minimum, maximum square footage, 50% of the principal dwelling not to exceed 900 square feet. I'm throwing out. Minimum lot size of half an acre. I don't know what the minimum lot size would be. Maximum height, 1.5 stories. Rear yard, side yard max setbacks or minimum setbacks of 3 feet to 10 feet. Owner occupied principal dwelling. You sign an affidavit, just an outline, and then that'll throw the chum in the water. And if everybody goes, this is a crazy idea, this is just another, and city council gets an idea that they're gonna be 6 months, putting out fires, then they can make a decision on whether to move forward or not.
So basically, it's just another way of floating an idea without committing one way or the other.
That is a way.
It looks like committing though, and that's what worries me. It looks like we're already doing this, and do you like it or not? And, maybe we will.
Well, and that's part of why all it would be is a suggestion to council is these are the things we're thinking of. So, yeah, this is a lot more
I think
complicated
we
than I
should
thought.
not be old school, folks. It's 2026. We're living in an incredibly complicated social environment here. We're not growing as a city. We obviously have fewer people living in every house. We have aging population. It's
Then we should do
new.
it.
This is the new world that we live in. And some of us are that aging
I mean,
population.
there's absolutely no harm in getting an idea of whether people want it or not. I think Chris is absolutely right. If they do indicate that they want it and you do move forward, I think it's gonna be months of opinions. I really do. There's a
Well,
lot of
how
things
we're
to
gonna do that?
consider. Yeah, but I'm just saying, he's right, you're setting yourself up for months of it, but that's okay.
And
You
you're
just gotta,
also-
you just gotta know it's gonna be a long
We live in a
process, because there's
democracy,
gonna be a
last
lot of
time I
time.
looked. I realize that's changing fast, but.
It's public hearings.
So that's why you have public hearings and things like that.
Correct.
because Your opinion.
Cause you're getting, like, Tony was saying, you're getting there, what did you say? Keep the chicken?
It's a weird term, yeah.
I kinda get it, cause we're getting there without having to formalize it into a survey and all of those kinds of things, so. I hear you on that, and the timing of it could create a problem, we're setting some false expectations for some people.
So, I think that's like cool.
You're back? Yeah. Oh my God, it scared me. I just opened the door.
Sounded like somebody yelled. It really did.
Was it?
Just go to the door.
It's the wind called the door.
It needs a little WD-40 apparently.
Yeah, deep breath.
No,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
You're talking about free chicken.
Walking the chicken, eating the chicken, whatever. Yeah, I was just, ending with, we could also be setting a false narrative for some people who may see the survey and have this expectation that we're moving forward with it too. So it could,
Well, you could write on it. We don't know what we're
and I
gonna
don't think
do.
it's an old school,
We
new
want-
school thing. I think
Yeah.
it's just a human thing,
Mhm.
to be honest with you.
Or what you could do, what I think what Chris was saying at the beginning, indicate that, define what an ADU is, but also indicate that this is, I don't wanna say a thought, but this is like something that is,
It's a potential.
thank you. It's a potential, topic of discussion or whatever. And we're trying to engage public opinion, whether this is worth pursuing or not pursuing. So let people kind of know upfront that it's still a nebulous thought, nebulous idea, it's not solidified, we're just trying to gauge.
If it came back resoundingly negative, I would suggest we drop it.
Oh, I would agree.
So, and that's kind of what I'm fishing for here, because again, we're in
But if you get 10 responses,
it tends not
Is
to
that-
be statistically significant.
Right.
So,
Well, that also tells you, that's an answer in
yeah,
itself.
so we move ahead with.
no.
Not necessarily,
Not
because not
necessarily.
everybody may have, seen the crier or whatever, so that doesn't really. lead to
Yeah,
that.
well, you're gonna have to have that out there for, and I would think 2 months to make sure it gets out
Well,
twice in
then
the
again, you're
car.
going back to the time issue and things like that and lengthening the time. I mean, these people here are very passionate about the agendas and they will show up when they see it on the agenda. We are letting them know what's being heard or what's forthcoming. And because they're looking at this, they will show up.
So one suggestion is if you go in April and council says, yeah, let's do it, put a public comment section on your April agenda.
Well, there's always a public comment, so.
Yeah, but I mean for that.
Oh,
issue.
just for
Specific
that.
item.
Mhm.
Okay.
Single it out,
I'm wondering if, to preface this, you could say, you're a good writer, Cynthia, but, so I'm not trying to steal your thunder here, but,
Published and renowned, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
exactly.
In Delaware, don't get excited, people, it's in Delaware.
Say that, it's been brought to our attention throughout the state and even in the city, there is concern with affordable housing. One possible thing has been ADUs. Consequently, before, I guess you could say it, before anything, any further discussion or planning or whatever the right word would be,
Concrete planning.
we wanted to
Get a
take the
sense.
temperature of the city and just see what people thought.
I think that's very
I think that
fair.
works out perfectly.
Yeah.
That's great.
I just am so concerned about going to the rest of the city and just saying, here's what we're doing, and
But
it just doesn't look
I
fair.
wanna get away from that narrative of going to the rest of the city. Like, this is a public meeting. There are members from all throughout the city and anyone can join this meeting.
I understand that, but.
It's
but-
not one-sided in one area, so please
Angelina, I
get away
know
from
that.
that.
I do know that. And I know that people have wild ideas about the saturation of the crier, which are completely, optimistic. You saw when people got motivated in the historic district about, short-term rentals, that they came out. They're not here now, but that's because it doesn't concern them. So.
Well, everything on the agenda concerns the entire city. So if it's not a hot button, maybe people don't want to come out, but this meeting and all other city meetings pertain to the entire city. And we have to,
We know that.
right, but that's what has to be said, please.
I understand that.
Yeah, and this is not a mandate. This is, like Chris said, a tool
Right.
Just
that can
another
be
tool,
used.
just another tool in the toolbox.
So I will say this, if I'm a non-lawyer, non-citizen that participates in a lot of stuff in the city, and I read review of accessory dwelling units and discussion of information needed to move forward,
Doesn't mean anything.
I'm staying home and eating my chicken.
It's really-
I'm having my glass of wine and I'm not, that doesn't do any, you know what I mean, from the perspective of somebody that doesn't do this. If instead, and that's only because you all are voting or not choosing to move forward, if that's what you choose to do, Jay. The next time when we really do want public comment, so you'll have the survey go out and you'll get whatever responses you get to that, but I agree, no matter whether you get 10 or whether you get 50, you're still not gonna know if you've got the number of responses that you're really going to get, because there's some people, I would never do it. I'm just not, if 5 minutes long, 3 minutes long, 10 minutes long, I don't care, I'm not doing it. So I'm just being honest, I don't live here though, so you're good.
If you had the potential to change your neighborhood in a way you didn't like, you would be doing it. And that's exactly why all those people turned out here for short-term
I'm
rentals.
gonna say no in the sense of this. This is just me though, but I'm just saying, I also know people, a lot of people, just from years of doing this stuff and social work and psychology and all that stuff. But if I saw something that said they were coming and I didn't want them, I would participate. If I saw something that said they were coming and I wanted to put an ADU in for my mother, I would participate. If it wasn't affecting me directly, I probably would not participate, especially if I'm, 45 years old and my parents aren't that old yet, and my kids, I don't have any special needs kids, and I don't have any reason that I think I'm gonna need this. Do you know what I mean? So everybody's different, but I think people tend not to, in this busy time, I don't think, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope you get 1 million survey results back, but I don't think a lot of people take the time to do that unless it is going to directly affect them. I don't think it's enough that it's just, I live in this town might do this. Think it needs to directly affect them. Now, if I pay attention to an agenda and I see on an agenda, accepting public comment to determine whether to change the zoning laws to allow accessory dwelling units, I might be more inclined to come because I feel more affected by that. And so I think doing both is important. I think you will get a good number of people that are going to respond to the survey, but I think you're going to get a good number of people that aren't. And the public comment is going to be another way to get those people.
Yeah. What, you said you've done a lot of surveys?
I have.
So statistically speaking, what's a good 10%, 15%?
3%.
That's even lower than I thought.
3 to 5.
Yeah, that's
I
even
know.
lower than I thought.
I think we get better than that, but you have to also figure that the stakeholders who are legitimate responders to the surveys are the people who own the properties, which is not 5,000 people. Okay, so and we'll see, but you always leave in a survey, you leave a place for them to write what they want to, and that's often as valuable as anything else.
I think it's a great idea. I just think I would do both.
Yeah.
I would do the public comment and the survey because I think.
Oh, no, I think
Oh,
you have to
absolutely.
do the public.
Yeah.
With a more specific, and it shouldn't have been more specific tonight. This is a very general conversation, but next time, the very specific, we're gonna take public comment on this issue.
So we're gonna move forward with a survey and the chair going to council, correct?
Do we need a motion to that effect? Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
You can
Thank
just say
you,
we all would
everybody.
like to do that.
okay.
This is the thing I want to do before we turn this in. And then I got cold feet because I wasn't sure if it was what people would want, so.
No, I think the survey will help us know, and that'll make sense. Okay. So Cynthia's gonna do a first draft, get it to Antonina. I will send something for the council and find out what they want. Okay. Okay. All right. Next agenda item is the revisions to our rules of procedure. Unfortunately, all the changes are in red. There was one, does anybody have any comments? Cause I have one, but I want to hear everybody else first.
I have one.
Okay.
Am I the only one?
Well, I have one, but
Okay, all right, cool. Article 7, Planning Commission operation, how to get an agenda item on the agenda. Where the way it's written, it looks like there needs to be 3 or more commissioners who want to put an item on the agenda in A, and then in B, planning commission members may not discuss anything. So the only way you could possibly know if there were 3 or more commissioners who wanted to add an agenda item, just operationally, is if it was in a meeting. You can't expect organically people to send a note asking for an agenda item, not realizing.
are you on page 4?
I'm on page 4, yeah.
Yeah, I see what she's saying. It's a poorly written sentence, and I apologize. I think I
Where's
left a
the
couple
3
words out.
people?
So that's if something is not put on an agenda,
Oh,
if
got
it's
it.
not
Yep,
placed
here,
on the
more
agenda,
commissioners
it's
and
the
higher
ability
commissioners.
to get it on the agenda if it's left off for some reason. And so it's supposed to be a vote is what it's
Okay.
supposed to be, and I apologize.
All right,
I did not
So
write that clearly.
because that led me to believe that it would just be a way to never have anything put on the agenda. And the other thing is, this commission is made up of individuals from all over the city who have knowledge of things in their area, and their desires to have things considered by the planning commission. Just one person is enough. We don't need to have, half the commission saying, yeah, we'll talk about your topic. I mean, we're here for a reason.
So
As
the point,
stakeholders.
and the point of that, and I apologize, because I think I actually cut something out, because
Okay.
that's supposed to be 2 separate sentences.
Okay.
It's supposed to be, the chair shall not be required to add any request to a particular agenda, but shall make reasonable efforts to accommodate all requests, period.
Mhm.
And then it's supposed to be, where the chair omits a request, any 3 or more commissioners, at the next meeting, a vote of any 3 or more commissioners to add it
Okay.
to the next agenda will carry.
Okay, I guess I could agree with that. But because we're enjoined from speaking to each other outside the meeting, it basically was a dead end.
Yeah, I apologize. I think I cut something out when I did that, so I can make that correction. You can still vote to approve with that correction tonight, and I can make that if you'd like. But that was the discussion of what do you do if the chair won't put your thing on.
Right.
And so the redress for that is if you ask for something and then the next meeting it's not there, then as long as any 3 people say, yeah, we want that on the next one, then it goes on the next one.
So just playing devil's advocate with that. If we got a request, but there's already 4 things on the agenda that are all approvals of site plans or whatever. And there's literally, I mean, if we added one more thing, we'd be here way past.
That's something we
the
talked about last time, right?
Right.
As long as you acknowledge that, like, so if I send an agenda item to you and you say, hey, look, the next agenda, we've got 6 items that we have to act on. We will add it to, this is March, May. That was the discussion last time, right?
Right, correct. And that was, and that's exactly what the discussion was. And my hope for everybody is that 3-person vote would never be necessary, because the chair would be saying, look, it just doesn't fit on this agenda. I'm gonna put it on the next month, and you won't even need to take a vote. But if the chair doesn't respond to you in that way, or if the chair says, nope, never putting it on ever, I don't like your idea, then you have some recourse by having the 3-person vote. So that was the intent of that.
Okay, thank you. And I'm glad it's.
So I'll make that correction.
Yeah, because if you got into it had to be, a majority or anything like that, I mean, we would just wind ourselves into a circle.
And, and of course, the chair can always, and I mean, this will come from us when we're here, she or he or whoever it's gonna be in the future, can always reject if it's not in the purview of the planning council.
Absolutely. Well, it says that in this
Right.
document.
So the other thing, is requesting something during a meeting. that's really relying on people's memories too much and causing all kinds of potential problems.
Mhm.
I think it should just be period, send an email.
Yep.
Cause that way it's in writing, everybody's got documentation. And I would think you would generally copy the city administrator on that.
Mhm.
So, just in
I
case
don't
that,
like that. It means the talking here doesn't mean anything, and we have the city administrator sitting here who can make a note.
I'm not always gonna be here though.
That's true, but
You have to remember.
you know, if we need to nominate a secretary, we can do that. But I don't actually think that that's reasonable.
and then I would say realistically, we have to publish the agenda 7 days ahead of time. In the event there's a holiday, it's gonna be more than 7 days ahead of time.
10
Which
days
we-
is
Is tight.
It's tight, it's tight.
14 days, maybe a little bit more helpful.
So here's what I would suggest. Again, whenever you're doing rules, my suggestion is that you can always do. You can't violate the rules, but you can always add to stuff. So for example, you know, if you have to pay a fine every, just because I'm an alderman, when I tell people they have to pay a fine every month, they have to pay it by the same day every month. But if they want to make an extra payment on the 10th, they're not violating their plan, they're adding to their plan, right? So if we have a rule that you have to put it in writing, which I understand, I hear what you're saying, Cynthia. I don't think the intent is to say what's said here is meaningless. I think the intent is that sometimes what's said here is forgotten and there might be unintentional leaving off. So I don't think it's a bad rule to say, if you want it on the agenda, you need to put it in writing or it might be forgotten. I don't think it's a malicious thing.
Actually,
That's
that's
not to
ensuring
say-
that it actually gets on there.
Correct. That's not to say, if you forget to put it on the agenda or forget to email the chair and the agenda is getting posted that day and somebody sends out, hey, here's a draft agenda. Does anybody have any additions? And you're sitting in the Philadelphia airport waiting to get through security for 5 hours. You couldn't pick up the phone and call Margot or whoever is the chair at the time and say, I know I didn't send it to you in writing, but we talked about this last month and I forgot to send an email and I'd really like it added on. And again, just decorum and friendship and colleagues and camaraderie, I would think Margot would put it on. But
That
I
assumes we see a
do
draft, which we
think
never
it's a
do.
good idea to say it should be in writing if you want to make sure that it gets on there. I'm just speaking as somebody who has memory loss often.
But I understand, but you raise an excellent point. We
Uh-huh.
never see a draft of the agenda before it goes out. So maybe if we could put in here that a draft of the agenda would be sent to us, then then I could accept that.
Okay, I didn't know that the draft.
The agenda, according to those our
Mhm.
rules,
Mhm.
the agenda is developed by the city manager, the city planner,
It is,
um,
it is.
and
Oh, I'm not trying to add more work. I'm certainly not trying to add more work, but I think that having it in, it's your rules, you guys vote, but I think that having it in writing, it's for your own protection to ensure that it gets on there. That you've got an email saying, I requested this and it's not on it. Doesn't mean you can't talk about it at the meeting, doesn't mean you can't make suggestions at the meeting, it just means you follow up with an email afterwards.
It would sure be nice to see a draft agenda, even if it was only one day before. It would sure be nice, because aren't we colleagues here? And isn't this a group effort?
Well, I opened a can of worms, but that's for another day. Let's
Thank you.
talk. Oh, I did. I opened up a can of worms, but let's talk about the rules because that's what we're on today.
Well, we could make that a rule.
I'm not gonna do that to the city manager. That's not how most people do it anyway, so
So we need to
I'm not
update
gonna do that
the
to
wording
but
of
up to you guys.
section 7A, correct?
yeah, my suggestion is we just cross out one, that it needs to be sent by an email.
And did you mention going from 10 to 14 days?
Yes, please.
Okay.
did you get that, Lisa?
You wanna go to 14 days?
Yes.
Yes.
Cause
Instead of 10.
since it
Okay.
has to be published at least a week ahead of time and our
There's
meetings
so many
frequent.
Monday
I see what you're
holidays.
saying.
We
Gotcha.
often have to post it on a
Yep.
Friday or a Thursday. It just
Yeah, I mean,
depends.
so we're posting it 10 days before the meeting anyway, so if somebody sent it to us 9 days
Mhm.
before, Yeah.
Well, and again, if there's a late request and it's able to be done, then you just add it. It's not a, you know,
Well, as long as it hasn't been published.
right, no, I know. Yeah, no, I know.
I have a question. So on 316,
Mhm.
I got the roll call, approval of minutes, public comments, review of accessory dwellings, that we do get a copy of the agenda, don't we?
You do get
We
it.
do, but we don't get a preview.
Okay, so I just wanted to clear, we do, so are we asking for a change in how we get that?
So it's my fault, because I was thinking they go out ahead of time, but they go to the chair and then go to council, which is why I was thinking they go out ahead of time, because they go to me. I don't think, I'm being very honest, even not to backtrack, but I am being very honest, I don't think it's a good idea, because we do have very limited time to get it out, and getting 9, 8, 7 different emails coming in, all requesting different stuff is just not feasible. And so I apologize to Antonina that I did that to her right now,
No, no,
to make everybody think that that should
No, I
happen.
was just saying,
But that's
we do
that's
get a
not,
copy.
you
did
get
get
a
it.
copy
There we
after,
go.
you get a copy after it's posted. And again, that's the reason we're putting in this 3-person vote if your stuff doesn't show up on there, but I do think it would be prohibitive to have everybody commenting on it every single time it goes out. So my apologies for screwing up the process. I see a copy, so I'm just thinking everybody else does.
It's typical that it'll go to legal counsel.
It goes to
and the chair.
legal counsel and the
Yeah.
chair. That's all it does, yeah.
Any other changes? Okay, so
No,
you're
to
clear
recap-
on those two, right?
Yeah, so to recap, before anybody makes a motion, if you're gonna make a motion, you would be approving with the following changes. That number 1, under 7A is stricken. So it will now read, agenda for the next meeting by sending an email or other written request to the chair. And 10 will be changed to 14.
And then you're gonna fix that last sentence
Mhm.
down at the bottom.
And then the last sentence is gonna be a period after all requests, and then it's gonna say where an item is not placed on the agenda. A vote of 3 or more commissioners at the next meeting, which would be the meeting where it was not on the agenda, the very next meeting. Will result in addition to the next month.
Just out of curiosity, how would you have a vote on something that doesn't appear on the agenda to begin with?
I think this is.
Because we always have an agenda discussion of next month's items. But it doesn't.
That is not on the agenda list.
No,
It's
we've
not
never
there.
had that.
Didn't we talk about doing it? Isn't that why we did that?
No.
We talked about it last meeting.
Yeah.
We talked about doing that.
Discussion of next month.
Yeah, because that's how this all came about. We were gonna put it on there.
Yeah,
I don't know what was spoken about at the last meeting, but I know in the past we've discussed having that.
Yeah, well, some of us really want that. And that would solve that problem.
It's just gonna be suggestions for next month. The thing is, I'm trying to think how we can. You guys do what you want to do, but it could be, rather than discussion, it could be suggestions.
Well, we
It
have
could be,
Number 5, under new
if you're
business.
just trying not to keep it too long. Yeah, I mean, I thought we put it in here because we talked about it last time. Where did I put it? Or where is it?
Order of business on page 3, number 5. It's put it there. Additional questions from planning commission members.
Mm-hmm.
Put it there.
Yep.
Or 6, planning commission discussion.
You put new business on there, though, the thing is, it does have to be on there. I mean, you're right about that, so you
Okay.
you could do that, because it's on your rules, you could just put new business item. Discussion of new business items, or, no, you really need to just put them out there.
Okay. So we can add it as read number.
Or you could always just put, let me think this through. Cause it's not gonna happen that often. I mean, it's gonna be a very rare circumstance.
While you're thinking that, has this been an issue
No,
ongoing, or are we doing preventive maintenance?
Getting items on the agenda,
Yeah, I'm just,
it's the perception of at least one commissioner that it's an issue.
okay. I mean, I've only been here a year, so I think that's a relevant question there. Is this a problem
I don't
that's
know.
persistent? over
No, I
time?
don't know that. I know that past year has been consumed with comprehensive plan review and home occupation, short-term rentals,
So we're going
subdivision
just-
applications.
just making sure if someone wants something on the agenda, that there's a fair process for them to be recognized. And if it cannot be put on the agenda, they understand why it cannot be on the agenda. That's okay.
yeah, I mean, again, the hope is that if it's not put on the agenda, the chair says it's not being put on the agenda because, and then they know it's gonna be the next agenda and there's no issue. Last time we discussed a provision for if it doesn't get put on the agenda, what is the recourse for that? Or how does somebody address that? And that's why we added this 3 vote, but it's a very good point, unless we put on every agenda that there's possibility of a vote or a discussion of upcoming things.
But the fact that we've already had that topic, I mean, it's very simple, just under item, add a number item and, I can't talk now, add item 8 and say, topic for next agenda, but, just, it's not that, I think it's a very simple addition. Just add a number 8 and say topics for next agenda.
Yep, I just don't, the only thing that concerns me is, remember if you do that, that then we need to follow up with a writing.
That's, I mean, right,
Right, like if you decide something at the meeting, then you need to follow up with an email, or it might not get on the agenda because you didn't.
right.
Yeah, would it be recorded though, in minutes?
It would be.
Yeah,
She
but
doesn't go back and
we don't
listen.
get, I don't see the minutes until I get the packet, so it would be too late.
Right.
So then it just understood that with number 8, items for the next agenda, it's understood that once you bring up a topic, you then follow it up with the email. I mean, that's just, doesn't need to be that convoluted.
Are you gonna add number 8?
I mean, it's not gonna be, it's not,
Well, I thought you already have it on here from, well, so
Or number
what
7?
do we mean then on this, on page 3? Additional questions from planning commissioners, what is that supposed to be?
That's for the applicant or representative, I would imagine.
yeah, that's not something we changed this time, so that's been on there for a while.
Okay.
But yes, that's so in a new business item, if you're reviewing something, you're always allowed to ask questions of your applicants and whatnot.
I was gonna say, do we need to have that even on, as what's on the agenda?
No, these are just, well, new business items, right? Are put on the agenda as to what they are, but you don't have to break them down into 6. Like if it's a review of an application, it's implicit that you get to ask questions about the application.
That's your.
You don't have to say review of an application and possible questions by the planning commission. I think that more is just to let you know under the rules what you can do, like
Okay.
it's sort of an internal gut check. Oh, okay, if we have new business, this is what we can talk about, and what we can do.
So like additional questions or suggestions from planning commission.
Well, actually, it already says that on number 3, so number 5 is really redundant.
Mhm.
Number 3,
Yeah,
number 3 already says.
That's just guiding you of how to do
How to
like a
do
public
business.
conversation about the subdivision applications or something like that.
Okay.
I think that's the purpose of that.
I did not think that section, so.
No, that's from the last
It
time.
does appear to be a little bit redundant.
And
It does appear to be a little.
that almost implies that if somebody's doing a site plan or whatever, that you could have public comments after each one.
Mhm.
Is that, are we
No,
good?
it says from commissioners, doesn't say public, does it?
Public
Yeah.
comment is number
No.
Or it says public.
I think we have to be careful for like a big project. We should probably allow public comment for a specific big project. You know?
Well, and
Yeah,
What's that?
But do we wanna have like in a meeting where we have three sets of public comments or just one?
Well, if people can't hear the discussion, then, I mean, maybe the discussion will just leave whatever concern they have. I think we're supposed to be responsive to
And I'm,
people.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking from a feasibility standpoint.
we'll just hear from Phil 3 times, you know. And that's a few minutes, so it can survive.
That's always a common debate with planning commissions. You
Oh,
take
yes,
public
yeah.
comment on each item.
Yeah.
And I've been there, you know, many
You're
planning commissions where they do that.
And what's the general
Yeah.
consensus
Yeah.
in that?
Well, you can move the public comment section, can't you?
But then they can't participate, then they, you know, then you've either haven't heard the item or you've already voted on the item. If you have the public comment after the agenda item, after the subdivision item that they're here for,
I
and
think-
you've already voted on it, that makes people mad.
I think that was Mike's, advice when we wrote these initially,
Each thing.
was that people would have an opportunity after each, right?
I was just saying that this is a common debate, you know,
Yeah.
do you allow public comment after each and, so.
So like that would be before you vote, before we
Mhm.
vote.
Yeah.
And
I think it's a good practice, particularly here, because you don't get that much public comment,
I-
so it doesn't really take up your night.
I think we just need to make sure that when Lisa's developing the agenda, we make sure she's following. Make sure we're all following. Okay. All right, so do we have a motion? Any other further discussion on proposed rule changes?
I'm gonna make one other comment or thought before you vote, because I'm just going back to how to do this. The other option is to put, discussion of omitted agenda items, if any. If you want to just not have discussion of all items for the next time. So in other words, you would always have something on there for if there were an omitted item that you would have the 3-person vote. Not trying to make it more difficult, I'm just putting it out there because I know you have concerns about having a full open discussion about the next agenda. So just another way that I'm thinking it could be done. If there's always a line that just says discussion of any omitted items like to be put on the next agenda, not discussion of the item, discussion of the fact that it was omitted and a vote to put it on the next one.
Are we reinventing the wheel here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
I mean, this is
if-
just-
I'm just,
If I send something twice and it doesn't get put on, I'm gonna, at the end of the next meeting, make a point of order to say, I've sent this email twice, it's been ignored twice with no response.
Yep.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
And as long as we can all be adults about it and, you know, I think that's probably more than capable. I don't know that we need to reinvent extra line items and go to the association or go to the council or go to the board or whatever.
up to you, I'm just giving you ideas because you were worried about.
No, and that's more than, you know, that's absolutely what you're here for, you know, and we appreciate that, but I think we're 25 minutes into a conversation where we've all said the same thing.
All right, let's vote on them as they are then.
Well, as corrected.
Right, correct. Yeah, with the correction.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to accept the rules of the planning commission with the changes to Article 7A as recommended by council.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? And this needs to go to city council for a final approval, right? Okay. All right. Last agenda item, and this is just an FYI kind of thing. There's really no discussion needed. And I wanted to make everyone aware that the city council approved the ability for someone to participate via Zoom in the event that they want to attend the planning, and well, any of the city meetings. They want to attend, but they aren't able to be here physically in person. So, I just want to make sure everyone was aware of that and, you know, Cause I know, Davey, you're gonna be one on your boat, wanting to zoom in.
If I'm not here, I'm not here.
So you can do that for half of the meetings per year, up to half of the meetings per year, so just keep in mind.
The three,
That many?
it's three.
No.
It's not, I think it's you're only allowed one, a very few number,
Yeah.
and, yeah. And you have to
And there's lots
let
of
people
rules.
know.
Like your face has to be
Nice.
on.
No, she's correct. It's on the back. Yeah.
One half, right?
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, I read it.
Council has.
Council, I read the council. My apologies.
Yes, well, that's all right. So
So
you,
how would that work? If we, sadly, we don't have Kristen here tonight, so how would that work if she wanted to zoom in? Where would she be up there or?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, so if somebody's gonna Zoom, you have to have a TV. Technically, everybody can Zoom, like I just did a meeting for another one of my towns. We did a meeting because we needed to have an extra meeting and just wasn't something that everybody could get together for. So we set up a Zoom for lunchtime because we needed to take a vote on something. So we set up a Zoom for lunchtime, advertised it. As long as somebody is in a physical location that can run that Zoom and everybody can be on it and the audience can come. I mean, you could all be on Zoom during a snowstorm and somebody with four-wheel drive could be sitting here talking to you. But somebody has to be at a physical location running the Zoom. But if you ever have a conflict that you just can't get here and you want to do it, I think, Margaret, just wanted you to know that's an option. Wasn't sure if everybody knew that. And then, but you do have to let us know, what is it, 10 days or 12 days? I forgot something like that.
Yeah.
Because the TV has to be going and somebody has to be at the physical location and all that stuff.
And again, just,
12 hours.
I wanted to make sure everyone knew that they had that option. That's all I wanted.
And remember to, if you do that in January, February, March, April, May, and then an October meeting is canceled, you might be out of compliance. So it's not like something you want to do on the regular, but it is an right, but it is an option for you.
Well, like with the snowstorms, we had to cancel it. I wouldn't want anybody going out in those, that weather.
Some technical question, when somebody's making a presentation, does the viewer at home see the presentation or do they just see the picture of the presentation?
Everybody has to be able to see the documents, so either they have to be emailed ahead of time for somebody to follow along and they have to have access to them or that's gonna invalidate the meeting. So you need to confirm that they have that access ahead of time.
It should be,
It's on the
you can
website.
share it on Zoom.
But you also have to share it on the Zoom for the,
When developers come in here with a lot of info,
I
you
know.
know, a certain attorney comes in here and loads the record
Mhm.
with witness after witness and
Mhm.
presentation after board after board after board.
If it can be done, and there's a commissioner that really needs to be on Zoom, it can be done. It's allowed to be done. If they cannot see those documents and follow along, then it can't be done.
Well,
And that's why we asked.
all those documents are in the packet. So if you're talking about a commissioner not having that information,
Yeah.
they would
Public
have
too,
gotten.
though. The public too, because once you open up that Zoom, the public's on the Zoom too. Now, if you can confirm that if anybody's even on there, nobody might be on there and then you're good. But if anybody is on there, if they have access to the packet that's online, I know, you
We
wouldn't.
don't do that now.
So what, I'm
We
sorry,
don't do what now?
Give the packet to the public,
Yes, it's online.
Oh,
It's
it
online.
is?
It's online.
if they can access.
The packet's online.
but there's a lot of times where we are seeing information for the first time.
Right.
Right.
Rendering expert testimony for a special exception,
Mhm.
with renderings or I
Mhm.
keep saying renderings. Obviously, you can hear somebody give expert testimony Zoom wise. But there's renderings from the battery. I mean, when we first saw those we were seeing them for the first time on a board right there.
Should we make sure the camera then focuses on that stuff when somebody?
We don't have that here.
They don't have capability to zoom in.
But if it's in the packet, which it should be, then you're okay.
But what Chris is saying is that people are
If you're
showing
not
up with
coming,
new stuff.
yeah.
And they should bring it on a flash drive and have it ready for
Mhm.
us.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
It'll be up to us to make sure that.
Yep.
Okay, so we just,
And it should, I mean,
I guess what you'll have to do is when somebody's doing a presentation, say everything needs to be sent to you, so you can get it to.
Well, and it can be held up to the camera too. I mean, they just have to have the access to view it. I mean, it's better if you can do, you know, the share screen, but if you can literally walk around and be like Vanna White and show everybody that's on the Zoom, they just have to be able to see the documents that are being used during the presentation.
Okay.
Okay, we do it, I mean, I do it a lot in other, I
Yeah.
say a lot, but there's reasons to do it, or a council person, a commissioner can't come. So it's very common. It's
Yeah.
not that big of a deal.
I do it all the time, all
Mhm.
the time. It sounds more complicated than it really is.
Mhm.
No, I mean, I do it too, but I've never had as good legal advice about it. And it's pretty loosey goosey, in other places where I do it.
Yeah, as long as
Yeah, it
everybody
looks good to
everybody's
me.
gotta be able to see it, that's all.
How about if we go to the hack report?
Okay, I have to apologize. I came here from another meeting, so I did not go home. I'm going from memory. There were 4 things on the hack, at the hack meeting on the agenda. 2 of them were approvals. Those like minor revisions, minor adjustments. Those were approved. There was, I'm sorry, I can't recall the addresses because I didn't go home
It's fine.
before the night. There was one issue where, because the hack did not meet in February, the person had put in their request, didn't realize that they had to wait, and so they went ahead and did it anyway. So that's gonna be a big issue.
You'll forgiveness, not permission.
Hmm?
You'll forgiveness, not permission.
Yes, and then the issue with signage is being tabled to the next meeting.
What was the thing that they did?
They built, the person put in to it was Second Street. They put in a deck, but then they also put in a second addition off the back, off like one of the bedrooms. So they not only went and built the deck without permission, they then added a second deck off the bedroom.
So there's a deck over the deck?
Yes,
Okay. The double deck.
a double deck.
Exciting.
Very colonial, yes, but very new, painfully new. It's very obvious. Oh no, sorry, but they know it's not. That's brand new.
Do we have any further business?
I just have one thing related to the accessory dwelling units. I've been collecting articles about accessory dwelling units as other cities have handled them, and I'll provide that to the city to share with people.
Okay.
Sometimes they're interesting what people have done. And I would ask, Chris, if you have any interesting stuff that you could share too, examples of how people have solved it in language or whatever. I'd love to see some examples. You know, I think it would help us think about it.
Okay. Anyone else? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Do you have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Roll call. Meeting adjourned.